Donald Trump stated that he is postponing any attacks on Iran's energy sector for another 10 days supposedly because he believes in negotiations, but Washington's actions indicate that Trump is either manipulating or blatantly lying. The United States is sending another 10,000 soldiers to the Middle East and, importantly, armored vehicles. And the U.S. State Department has urged Americans to urgently leave the United Arab Emirates or seek shelter within the country, because all scenarios of U.S. ground operations against Iran could, in one way or another, affect the Emirates. In addition to this, sources in the White House have stated directly that the decision for a U.S. ground invasion of Iran has been made. Only technical details remain. Thus, in the coming days, a huge U.S. force of tens of thousands of troops will assemble in the Middle East, who are specifically trained to conduct airborne and amphibious landings. At the same time, Iran announced that its intelligence had uncovered plans by the U.S. and the United Arab Emirates to seize disputed islands in order to unblock the Strait of Hormuz. Therefore, Iran announced that it had preemptively mobilized more than 1 million of its citizens in case of a U.S. ground invasion. And mostly we're talking about young guys who are eager to join the ranks of the Basij. My name is Alexei Pechi. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we begin, I ask you to support the work of this YouTube channel by liking and subscribing, and possibly through sponsorship or a donation. All the links and details on how to do this are in the description of this video. I will be grateful for any support you can give. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel Pechi News. The link to it is in the description of this video. So, last night, Donald Trump shocked all the analysts when he announced that he was extending the deadline for Iran to make a deal to end the war by another 10 days, noting that the negotiations are going very well. Although Tehran denied all these statements and rejected the US proposal, calling it unfair. But Trump insists that it was Iran who asked him to extend his own deadline, which I remind you started at 40, and now it has already been extended by 17 days. Next is a quote from Trump. At the request of the government of Iran, with this statement I announce that I am postponing the start of the destruction of energy facilities for 10 days until Monday, April 6, 2026 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Negotiations are ongoing, and despite false statements to the contrary from the fake news media and other parties, are moving very quickly. But right after this statement, there were leaks that may indicate that Trump is simply preparing cover, a kind of diplomatic cover, for a large-scale ground operation. At exactly the same time when Donald Trump made his statement about 10 days, the U.S. State Department urged American citizens in the United Arab Emirates to be ready to take shelter in a safe place and advised tourists to reconsider their plans. According to the State Department, the travel advisory level for the Emirates is at level 3, which means a high degree of danger. The American agency also mentioned Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, but special attention is being paid to the United Arab Emirates, and not without reason. Look at what's happening. Today, the Emirates have openly stated that they are ready to join a potential multinational maritime task force. This task force is meant to open the Strait of Hormuz, as the country is lobbying for the creation of a coalition to ensure the passage of ships through this critically important waterway. The Emirates have stated that they are ready to send their naval forces to the Strait of Hormuz to fight against the Iranians there. Earlier, Iran stated that their intelligence has information that the US and the Emirates are preparing a joint takeover of Abu Musa Island, which, by the way, the Emirates have long claimed. But, if I'm not mistaken, since the 1970s, Iran has occupied this island and a few other small islands nearby. If this island is captured, Iran will lose control over one of the entrances to the Strait of Hormuz. At the same time, according to a senior official from the U.S. Department of Defense, the White House and the Pentagon are sending at least 10,000 additional military personnel to the Middle East in the coming days. This will greatly increase the number of American military personnel in the Middle East. And this is another sign that serious preparations for a U.S. ground operation in Iran are underway. The large-scale increase in ground forces is being considered against the backdrop of President Trump's statements that the U.S. is conducting productive negotiations with Iran on a deal to end the war. Iranian officials have not yet agreed to a high-level meeting with the U.S. and in general suspect that Trump's diplomatic efforts are just another trick. At the same time, the Pentagon is developing military options for a final strike against Iran, which may include the use of ground forces and massive bombardment. Overall, in the coming days, additional reinforcements are expected to arrive in the Middle East, including several fighter squadrons, thousands of troops, and very importantly, armored vehicles. One Marine Expeditionary Unit will arrive this week, and another is already in the process of being deployed. The command of the 82nd Airborne Division of the U.S. Army has already been ordered to deploy an infantry brigade consisting of several thousand troops to the Middle East, and now an additional 10,000 soldiers will be sent there as well. As a result, the New York Times is openly stating that the decision for a ground invasion has been finalized. Only some technical issues remain, such as the transfer of additional forces and equipment. In response, Iran announced that it has mobilized more than 1 million recruits in advance in case of a U.S. ground invasion. As stated by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, there is a growing desire among Iranian ground forces to give the Americans hell on Iranian soil if they dare to invade. At the same time, according to the Tasnim agency, the authorities are receiving a massive influx of applications from Iranian youth who want to join the Basij paramilitary militia, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and the regular army. Earlier, the New York Times reported that the US had given Iran a 15-point peace plan. It includes demands to open the Strait of Hormuz for free navigation, to limit Iran's missile program to self-defense needs, to stop funding Tehran's proxy forces in the Middle East, to dismantle nuclear facilities in Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo, as well as to transfer about 450 kilos of uranium enriched to 60% to the IAEA. At the same time, the US is ready to lift nuclear sanctions, provide assistance in developing civilian nuclear energy at the Bushehr facility, and cancel the UN's automatic sanctions snapback mechanism against Iran. Иран такую сделку отверг. Therefore, everything indicates that the ground operation will begin within the next few days. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation, paid subscription, or sponsorship on YouTube, or through the PayPal platform, crypto wallets. Basically, all the details are provided. How to do this? All the links are in this video's description. I'd appreciate any support. And also subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peachy News. The link is in this video's description. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.